Hi everyone. So it's a beautiful Sunday afternoon. I know I haven't shot a video in a while. I've been really busy these past few weeks, but I had some time, so I wanted to shoot a video today. So I hope everyone's doing great. I hope you're enjoying the summer. As you all know, I'm using this video channel to talk about either politics or religion. And as you know, I was raised a Jehovah's Witness from age 6, and I left at age 28. And so when I talk about religion, I'm talking about my experience as being raised as a Jehovah's Witness. And so today I'm going to talk about the cult a little bit. The first thing I wanted to mention before we get into it, though, um, I started a Facebook group. The name of that group is called Jehovah's Witnesses on the Fence, and that group is intended to help any Jehovah's Witness who has questions or doubts about that religion. They can come and join the group, and we point them to the answers. In other words, we tell them where they can find the answers to whatever doubts that they're having. All right. So the reason why I created the group is because a lot of times when and this happened to me when I first left. I had all of these doubts and these questions. What if Armageddon comes? What if that is the true religion? What if this? What if that? And so it really it was horrible for me because my peace of mind was just always being riddled with all these questions. And not only was I being riddled with all these questions, I didn't know how to go about resolving them. So I was agitated a lot. I mean, there was just days where it was just eating away at me. And so, when I got those questions resolved, though, I felt so much better. And so I thought that if by having that group, if anyone else was reluctant to leave the cult because of those same nagging questions, those doubts, you know, uh, that group would be you know, a great forum to address those issues. And again, we don't, insist that if you join a group, you have to leave the call. No, what you do with the information we give you is completely up to you. Okay, we don't try to find out who you are and then you're out to the elders. It's completely your decision, and each person is different. There are people who choose to remain in the cult for their own reasons. There are people who choose to leave the cult and again, they have their reasons for doing so. So each individual is going to make up their own mind. But I just wanted to give them a forum where they could air out those questions and doubts, and be given a clear answer as to how they can search for the answers themselves. And so, again, that's a lot of times that's all they need is like, where do I find the answer to this? And I'll use myself as an example with that. The book Crisis of Conscience, that book really helped me open my eyes about that Jehovah's Witnesses. And the first edition of that book was written in 1983, but I had never heard of it. I was still a Jehovah's Witness all the way through 1995. I had never heard of that book. But then after I left, and I'm going to say this is in 2017 when I first learned of the book Crisis of Conscience. And so, but had I knew of it earlier, then that would have, again, a lot of the headaches that I could have been spared. So again, we're just there to provide information and tell people where they can find answers, so that they don't have to again, if you don't know where to find the information, then it's hard to make a decision one way or the other. Whereas if you have all the information you need, that helps makes things much easier. All right. So the name of the group is Jehovah's Witnesses on the Fence. I'm going to put a link down below, and anyone is welcome to join. All right. So the topic for today that I'm going to be talking about, this one is directed towards teens. We get questions in the XJW community. We get questions from teens, 14, 15 years old. I don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. My mom is making me go to the Kingdom Hall. What can I do? And unfortunately, there's nothing you can do. You have the same dilemma that many of us had who were raised as Jehovah's Witnesses. We had to go. And my mom made us go to the Kingdom Hall. It didn't matter what. My younger brothers and I would hide our shoes, so we didn't, to try to avoid going to the meetings. And my mom would make us wear our sneakers to the Kingdom Hall. She would literally make us wear our sneakers. She didn't care. She wanted, the idea was she was going to make us go whether we wanted to or not, and that's exactly how many of us were raised. We didn't get a choice to opt out. So 9 times out of 10, your parents are not going to give you the option of saying, I don't want to go. Something I want to make clear about cults and parenting. We think of parenting as a normal parent-child relationship where there's love, and the child is one of the most important people in the parent's life. The spouse, right, the child. So you're thinking that your place in that parent's life is up there, that you're important to this parent. And cults, that relationship is not maintained. It's not. In other words, most cults teach the parents that their leader comes first. So if it's God or a human being or whatever it is, the cult teaches the parents that that leader comes first. And for that reason, the normal parent-child relationship suffers because the child is no longer a priority. The child has now been moved back to second, third place, fourth place. Okay, the child is no longer the priority. The leader of that cult is. Okay, and so that's one thing. If you are growing up with Jehovah's Witness parents who are very indoctrinated, if you're seeking for the normal parent-child relationship where you are a priority to them, you aren't. The cult is now the priority. The rules of the cult is the priority. It's not your well-being. It really, again, the cult takes over the lives of parents, and so again, like I said, if you're expecting a normal parent-child relationship, please don't do that. Please realize that that cult is now the priority in the parent's life, and you are no longer the priority. This means that you now have to look out for your own well-being. You have to take care of yourself. You have to depend on yourself. You have to grow up quick, and that's just how cult life is. It's not it's a strange phenomenon. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen, but that's what cult life means. It means you have to grow up fast. It means you have to look out for your own well-being. You have to have a sense of who you are, what are your priorities. You have to have a sense of what do you want to do. You have to land all those things very early on, and you have to work towards those things feverishly. And the reason why is because the cult doesn't want you separating off of them. For the cult, it teaches your parents that you are a member of the cult, nothing more, nothing less. So the cult does not want you to start thinking independently and making plans to leave the cult and all this. They want to keep you in. They will enlist your parents' assistance to keep you in. So again, they just want to, keep you in the cult. So if you're making plans, if you're saying to if you're saying to yourself, listen, I don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness, blah, 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 please don't share that with your parents. Don't tell them this because it's going to create problems. All right. So this video is what you should be doing instead. What you can do if you're 13, 14 years old, 15 years old, you're at home, what should you be doing? First thing you should be doing, because remember, what we're doing now is we're planning so that by the time you're 18, 19 years old, you can leave. You can leave the cult and you can, start living independently. All right. So the first thing you want to do is you want to learn everything that you can from your parents. That means cooking, cleaning. When I was about 13, 14 years old, my mom, I had raised by a single parent mom. She'd give me a grocery list. She'd give me cash. She'd send me to the supermarket, and I do the shopping for the family. Okay, so I knew how to pick out fresh fruits. I knew how to pick out fresh vegetables. She sent me to the fish market. I knew how to pick out fresh fish. Okay, so all this stuff that I learned as a teenager. We had chores around the house. We had to clean dishes. We had to take out the trash. Had to clean windows. We had to clean the bathrooms. We had chores. So if you're living at home, this is all stuff you should be learning. Okay, my mom did the laundry for the family. Okay, there were 6 kids in my growing up in my home with my mom, and we again she did the laundry for all the family. When I turned about 14 years old, I told my mom, Mom, listen, I want to do my own laundry. I bought my own laundry hamper. I bought my own laundry detergents, and I started doing my own laundry. The reason why I did my own laundry is because I knew sooner or later I want to be independent of her. I want to move out on my own. I don't want to be calling up my mom, Mom, how do I do laundry? How do I do this? How do I? No, I wanted to know and be able to do it independently. And I got into the habit of it. So again, doing my laundry, folding up the clothes, putting everything away, that it just, I've been doing my laundry for so many years. It's just second nature to me. Okay, and that's what I mean. You want to make it so that you are becoming self-sufficient. That that's what you want to be working towards. So the same thing with cooking. You want to learn how to cook. The reason why that's important is because eating takeout every day is more expensive than cooking meals. So if you purchase your food and prepare it yourself, it's more economical. You're saving money. So you want to get in the habit of learning how to cook and prepare your own meals. All right. So again, when you first move out of the house, you as far as financially, it may be a little bit rocky in the beginning. So you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you only know how you're only eating takeout food. So again, you should be learning as much as you can. Another example of stuff you should be learning, my siblings, my 2 younger brothers, they they know how to they know how to make minor repairs around the house. So for example, they know how to install a lock, they know how to hang curtain rods, they know how to install a ceiling fan. There was a brother in the Kingdom Hall who was a handyman, and they would associate with him, and they learned all these skills from him, and they just picked up all of these these abilities. So again, they are very handy around the house. They can fix anything and repair anything, so forth and so on. So the same thing, you should try to learn as much as you can. If your parents don't know how to make handy repairs around the house, but again, if there's someone in the Kingdom Hall that does this kind of work, try to learn as much as you can from them. You know, and again, it makes you independent. It increases your independence when you move out. You don't have to always be calling someone. Another issue that you should address while you're at home. Okay, most high schools teach driver's ed, so learn how to drive. Learn how to drive. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't have a driver's license. I live in New York City. It's 24/7 transportation. So it goes just about everywhere in the city. So you know, I hate to say this, but I never really, there was no burning desire to learn how to drive, especially since I had access to public transportation. So that being said, now I wish I had gotten my driver's license. It enhances your independence. Um, I say that now because I live in New York City, but now I wish I would like to, a few years from now, move down to a warmer climate, and transportation will become an issue. I don't have a driver's license. It's going to become an issue. So it's again, if you learn how to drive while you're in your parents' home, it just enhances your independence. If your parents have a vehicle, learn how to change tire, learn how to change the oil. You want to learn as much about maintaining the vehicle as possible. And like I said, this is all you're doing is lining up your ducks so that by the time you do decide to leave home, everything is in order. You're not calling home every 5 minutes for help with this, help with that. I don't know how to do the next thing. You want to be prepared so that you can be independent of them. So another thing you should be working on is your social circle. Increase your social circle to include worldly people. Now, does that mean you're going to have them come over to your home? No. But if you're in school, try to make a few friends with worldly people. Um, the other thing you can do, what you could do as well, is if you, with my parent, for example, she cut us off from our non-JW relatives. We didn't have contact with them. I didn't know where any of them lived, didn't have their contact information, nothing. So my advice to you is, again, if you're cut off from your non-JW relatives, reestablish contact with them. You have social media, make a fake social media account, block all the Jehovah's Witnesses from that account, because remember, you wanna get in the habit of being in contact and having association with worldly people. The reason why that's important is because when we're raised Jehovah's Witnesses, we're told the world is awful, that they're evil people, that worldly people are, the worst of the worst. So sometimes we get into this little bubble that we don't want to have anything to do with them. We're going to leave the cult, but we're going to hang on to this belief that we can't have it, we have to remain separate from the world. And what I'm saying is you can't have both. You're either in the cult or you're in the world, but you can't do both. So if you're going to be in the world, if you're saying to yourself you don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness, then that means you're going to be in the world, and you need to be comfortable dealing with worldly people. So you might as well start now. Start while you're in school. Get accustomed to dealing with your teachers, your peers. They're worldly people, and you be able to start. You should be able to start judging people's characters. If you see that this worldly person is nothing but trouble, then you know to avoid them. You don't want to end up going down the wrong path. But there are worldly people who are decent people. So those are the people you want to associate with. Those are the people that you want to be with. So again, that's what you want to do. You want to get in the habit of being around worldly people. You don't want to try and separate yourself. You don't want to try and get to this whole thing where if the person's not an XJW, you don't want to have anything to do with them. The reason I bring that subject up is because there are people who say, well, I want to move out of my parents' home, but I only want to move in with another XJW. And sometimes there are XJWs in the area that can take you in, but sometimes there isn't. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with that. Sometimes they say, okay, well, there's no XJWs available, but there's a worldly person who has space, and so you cannot, dig your heels in and say no, it has to be an XJW. So that is my one biggest piece of advice for the social circle part of thing. You have to expand it. Um, there are some XJWs who aren't so pleasant. So, being an XJW in and of itself, is not is it doesn't mean anything. People are people, so you have to be willing to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, and XJWs as well as worldly people. So, again, expand your social circle, widen it to include, as many worldly people as possible. And when I say that, again, I don't mean that you just have to make friends with anyone. Be selective. Be selective. Pick people who have the same priorities in life as you do. Pick people who are going the same direction as you are. Okay? So, but you do need to learn to associate with worldly people. So, that's home. We talked about home and making your social and expanding your social circle. Now we're going to talk about school. All right. So when I was being raised a Jehovah's Witness, we were always told Armageddon's right around the corner. Your education is not important. You're not going to need it. You go into the new system of things. You won't need a college degree. You don't even need to complete high school. Really, you'll be fine. And for us, the emphasis was where you can become a pioneer and just recruit more members, right? So that was my whole entire life. Armageddon's coming, Armageddon's coming, Armageddon's coming. I've heard about Armageddon now for 45 years. Okay? Armageddon's not here. I made all these life decisions based on Armageddon coming, and there's no Armageddon. And now, when life gets tough, it's because of the decisions I made. So whenever it comes to Armageddon, I always tell teens, please do not base your decisions on Armageddon being here in the next 10 years. Please do not base your decisions on Armageddon being here in the next 20 years. Pretend Armageddon is 1,000 years off into the future, and base your life on now. So if you're in school, don't take your schooling for granted. Do well in school. Stay in school. Do not quit school. Do not drop out. Everyone says, well, I can just get my GED. That is not, even though that is a diploma, when you graduate from high school in the traditional sense, or the traditional, way of graduating, that has more, I don't know if I should say respect, or but yes, when you say you have your GED, they say, you're a quitter. That's what they think to themselves, even if they don't say it out loud. So please, try to stay in school, get your diploma. Do not drop out. After you've completed school, you should look into trade school. I recommend college, but some people are like, no, I want to be a trade laborer. Then that's fine. Please just continue education. While you're in school, get good grades. Don't just do enough to get by. Get good grades. Um, if you're in public school, you should be trying to get involved with extracurricular activities. So whether that be sports, whether that's, chess club, drama, the band, whatever it is, you should be trying to get involved with extracurricular activities. Okay? So, and again, when you apply for college, all of this looks great on your college application. So stay in school, do good, get good grades, try to do extracurricular activities. The other thing you should be doing, and I recommend this for when you get to about 10th grade or so, you should start trying to figure out what it is you want to do. Really should be done earlier than 10th grade, but by the time you're in 10th grade, it should be final. You should be working with your guidance counselor, picking out colleges. You should be really thinking about your future. Okay, that's when you should start, making all of these plans and stuff as to what you're going to do. And that's why it's important, because so many of us who dropped out of school, or who didn't, who devalued education, we're paying for those mistakes. We pay for those mistakes, and we suffer the consequences for it. So please don't take your education for granted. Work with your teachers, work with your, guidance counselors to figure out a plan to go to college. They can help you pick out a college. They can help you fill out the applications for college. Um, they can help you seek scholarships, right? There have been some JW parents who have said, listen, if you apply for college, usually it means taking out a student loan or whatever. And the parent says, well, you need my information to fill out those student loan applications, and I'm not going to give it to you. I'm refusing to give it to you. But you should still apply. You should still apply. Again, you should be applying for college no matter what your parents think or say. And remember, your parents are operating from the place that the cult comes first. So they're not going to be looking out for your best interests at this point. They're not going to be looking out for what it is you wish to do with your life. That has not come up on their radar. The only thing they care about is the cult. So if you are determined to go to college, if you're determined to go to trade school, you are going to have to do this for yourself. You're going to have to grit your teeth and work through it. Okay. So that's one thing I wanted to make clear. I didn't say this earlier, but when I was 14, right, I started babysitting. I started babysitting kids around the neighborhood. Um, I would get, I should have taken that money and saved it, right? But they kept telling us Armageddon is right around the corner. So I'm thinking to myself, well, what's going to happen? My money's just going to burn up, and I'm not, So I would go out and spend it. I get money. I go, bowling with my friends. I go to the movies. I buy clothes. I buy, So I would spend it instead of saving it, because, like I said, I was afraid it would just burn up in Armageddon. So remember when I mentioned that I need you to pretend Armageddon is 1,000 miles off? Save your money. Save it. Go earn money, and then save that money. So some of the ways you can earn money. Babysitting, again, that's how I earned money when I was a teen. Another thing you can do is mowing lawns, especially if you live in a suburban area. Mowing lawns is a great way to earn money. If you live in a climate where it snows during the winter time, shoveling snow is a great way to earn money. Tutoring kids. If you are, like a math whiz, you're great at science, you can tutor children. That is another way to earn money. But again, you want to make it so that you are getting money, and then you want to put that money aside. You don't want to waste it buying video games and all this other nonsense. You want to put that money aside. Another aspect, now we talked about getting your driver's license, right? So for me, public transportation is not an issue. But if you live out in the suburbs or in a rural area, transportation is going to be a real issue. So you need to think about that. If you can buy a scooter or a used car or whatever, save up your money, and when you're able to get the car or whatever, purchase it. Purchase it. Make it so, again, you want to make it so that increasing your independence from your parents. You don't want to make it so that you are, relying upon them and dependent upon them. Even if you can get a part-time job after school, that's another way. But again, you would just want to make it so that you are um, earning funds, and that you're putting those funds, away. You're saving it up. And I'm sorry if this sounds like you are being cheated and robbed of your childhood, but that is exactly what cult life does. It robs every teenager and every child of their childhood. They have to make adult decisions. They basically have to become the adult for themselves. They have to look out for their own self-interest, their own best interests. Instead of something that they would rely on their parents to do for them, they have to do it. And so that's what cult life is. It means you're making adult decisions because your parents won't do it for you, and you have to be comfortable with that. Um, I learned very early on that my mom's priority was a cult, and so that's what drove me to say I have to look out for myself. I can't rely on her to do it for me. Right now the only thing she cares about is the cult. And so I learned that very early from my mom. My mom would have the meetings for field service in her home. She had the Tuesday night book study in her home. We were going to the Kingdom Hall twice a week, going to district convention and circle assemblies. Every time we turned around, we were doing some kind of cult activity. So I hated being a Jehovah's Witness. It was just, every time I turned around, it was one activity after the next, after the next, after the next. And my mother was just signing on for all this stuff. And it was like, none of this stuff is fun. And none of this stuff, just all it did was make me stick out like a sore thumb in school. All my classmates were all having fun. In the meantime, I can't, no birthday parties, no Christmas, no Halloween, no this, no. That's all I'm doing all the time. So it really, again, by the time I got to my early teens, it began to sink in on me that I had to look out for myself. And so that's what I'm telling you as teens. If you see that your parents are so committed to this cult and nothing else, and they only want you to be a Jehovah's Witness in the future, and you can only, pioneer and recruit more members, and that's the only life they see for yourself. You need to start planning, and planning early. You need to start taking steps to increase your independence. And so that by the time you reach 18, 19 years old, you can start making steps to get out of your parents' homes. Okay, so now let's pretend you are 18, 19 years old. You should be, before you go and tell your parents, listen, I don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm 18, you can't make me. The first thing you want to do is prepare for the worst. All right, there have been some Jehovah's Witness parents, when their kids tell them this, they say, well, you have to leave the house. So they kick them out of the house, no clothing, none of their belongings. They just kick them out of the house. So that's what I mean. You want to be prepared for the worst. Okay, so I have a few suggestions with this thing. Before you tell your parents you don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore, and that you're 18 and they can't make you be a Jehovah's Witness, the first thing you should be doing is, first you want to make sure you have a source of income. Second thing, you want to make sure that you have somewhere else to go. That you have if they kick you out of the home, you have another place to live, or a relative that can take you in, or maybe a classmate that you can move in with that person. But again, you want to make it so that you prepared for the worst. Okay, if your parent does kick you out of the house, you should, and tells you can't take your clothing, you can't take your belongings, the first thing you should do is call the police, and the police will escort you into the house so you can get your stuff. Okay, so there's no reason to leave your belongings behind. You call the police and you get your belongings. So that's the first thing. That's one of the things that I encourage, to not, confront your parents. The first choice should be to remain at home. Go to college, remain at home. Some parents are willing to let their kids do that, provided that the kid's behavior stays stays good, right? So as long as the behavior stays good, you can remain at home. If you can do that, if you can live under those terms, I recommend staying at home and just going to college. It shows that your parents are willing to be reasonable and respect your wishes. If your parents are all or nothing, you can't stay here, unless you go to the meetings, I'm not going to let you go to college and blah, 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 then you need to move out. And like I said, you have to have those arrangements in place as a backup, already in place, just in case they tell you that. So you want to be prepared for both scenarios. If they tell you, yes, you can stay, fine, you got that. But then if they tell you, no, you can't stay, you want to be prepared for that as well. And so make those arrangements first, and then give your parents the option to, you tell them, listen, mom and dad, I want to stay home. I don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. I would like to stay home and attend college with your blessings. I'm willing to, keep my behavior as, clean as possible, blah, 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 and see if they're willing to meet you halfway. If they're not willing to meet you halfway, then you should just tell them, well, listen, I've made arrangements to move in with my friend so and so. I'm going to take my belongings, but again, you want to make sure that you have arrangements already in place. You don't want to, just be thrown out into the street with nowhere to go, blah, blah, blah. All right. So, um, we talked about college. We talked about, enlisting the help of school administrators for college. If you're applying for college, talk to everyone you can for help. Teachers, guidance counselors, let them help you in your job planning, your career planning thing. But yeah, these are my suggestions. I hope I covered everything. If you have any questions, leave them in the section below. I thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. Stay well. Have a great week.